Watch who?
Hello, and welcome to Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I'm new to Watching Who.
Watching for the very first time.
Very first time.
And welcome, everybody. It's a new season, season 22.
22. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, welcome to anybody who might be joining us for the very first time. I don't know why you'd start with Attack of the Cybermen, but you might.
You might be feeling 22 like Taylor and want to start here. You never know.
Yeah, maybe. Usually I have an intro, a very elaborate intro, but I still haven't got one. I'm just going to say it's real life. We're on Telos in the ice tombs. It's absolutely freezing cold today as we record.
Cold, yeah.
I've been cold all day.
It's a classic January weather day.
Oh, it's so bad.
I mean, we had snow here in Wales, but never stuck. Just it was there in the air and I was like, snow. But that was it.
Oh, well, I think we should go straight into it because we've got a lot to talk about because it's a new season, new Doctor,
new
setup, new format, 2 episodes, but longer. It's all happening here. And we're in 1985 now.
Yeah, gosh, 85.
I'm born next year.
I'm still not born.
Hang on, what year are you born?
1990.
1990. Oh
I'm a
no,
90s baby. I'm not. I'm just over the hump. I'm a 90s baby.
Oh, Doctor Who's finished by then.
That should have been a sign of things for me. Yeah.
Well, okay. So, Attack of the Cybermen. Now, last season we sort of ended on a bit of a low because it was the twin dilemma. Ran out of budget. You weren't.
Oh, you can tell it's a new season for sure. All the budget's there. I thought.
Well, it's okay. I mean, it looks a bit.
I mean, we can nitpick, but overall, there's definitely more budget. There's some really good, big shot moments when they're running around. There's plenty of locations.
I mean, it's directed well, but in terms of budget, they still went to Clinton and got all that plastic wrap for the cryons.
I was going to say, we can nitpick at the monsters. That's different. I think in terms of, there's loads of locations. It looks good. It looks vast. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, okay. Well, Attack of the Cybermen. So I was dreading this a little bit because it's not one that I'm particularly fond of. I've watched it only a couple of times. And we ended up last season. You weren't fond of the Doctor and Peri particularly very much.
Yeah.
The Doctor was being very erratic and strangling Peri. Peri had completely changed since we met her. She was, well, quite rightly so, quite traumatized. And it was all on her. And we just saw her completely give up basically straight away. And we begin the season like that again.
It's not as bad.
It's not as bad, but I think watching this in order as well helps because I do love Peri and I love the Sixth Doctor, but watching this progression, this very slow progression, you'd think after I don't know, it's been off screen for 9 months or whatever. Back, new series, is this the way to go? She is still she's like a nervous wreck at the beginning, and she's trying to look out for him and stuff. I suppose you can see that in the carrier, but all I saw was her being like, "Why are you still here? You're still on the holiday from hell. You're with this person that you're just jumpy around the whole time because he could go completely psychotic again."
Look, Doctor, do you really think you're up to this? I mean, you've only recently regenerated, and yet you've undertaken so much work. Well, what I really mean to say is you still seem a little unstable.
Unstable? 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 This is me, Peri. At this very moment, I am as stable as you will ever see me.
And you're worried and stressed about danger and Halley's Comet, and I don't know.
It's not as bad though. He says something like, "I won't hurt you" or something. He says something like that. Which made me sort of laugh, but she didn't react at all. It was as if she could have gone rolled her eyes or some things and well, but she didn't. So it almost as if he's sort of got a bit of sense of humor about it, and she's sort of with it. I don't know. I didn't feel it was as extreme as.
No, I'm probably looking way into it more than it's supposed to be, but it's not that fun, friendly, adventure-y vibe, is it?
No, but that first episode with them both, like last season, was just awful. Like whenever they were on screen, I didn't want them to be on screen, right? Like it was just like there's no real chemistry between them. It was just awkward to watch. It didn't feel comfortable. This didn't feel uncomfortable. Like she could joke about like when she's walking around, she could joke about like he said something about standing out then. She's like, well, of course you're doing that jacket. There was some sort of like a rapport there that hadn't been there before at all. So I get what you're saying. It wasn't as awful as it had been previously. It felt a little bit warmer and a little bit less erratic, but it also felt like more settled into this character. And I don't know whether that's because me, viewer watching, is like, well, this is how this character is now. And I've sort of settled into like that persona a bit more.
Well, we'll just do clothes watch a minute. So what do you think of Peri's? Well, she's got two outfits. So she's got like the pink leotard
thing with the little kitten heels is horrific. When she had to jump down that hole, I was like, yeah, who in costume or in whatever thought, let's stick her in kitten heels. Let's stick the companion that has to run around and do stuff. And why, what is it with the 80s and sticking companions in kitten heels?
I think they're the same shoes as Tegan's. They look the same.
Oh, they're just awful.
Did you like her boiler suit thing later on, though? I was thinking that you might like that. Because she's in that...
Yeah. Like, I enjoyed that. It was just those... Like, that initial outfit was so 80s, which it is. And that, like, that I could... It was the shoes, right? I'm all about a practical shoe. A shoe for the occasion, right? She's not at a wedding. She's not on a night out. She's not like... She's, like, running around in mixed terrain and environments. Put a practical shoe on, love, right? Someone put a practical shoe on her.
It was awful, especially, you know, when he's looking for the signal and they're running around the streets. She is clomping away after him, like, so badly. And I don't know if that's supposed to be comedic or not, but it's just painful to watch her just like...
I get that it's a time and people did dress like that and it was trying to like... But, like, also, I don't know. I think, like, it's just a symptom of the time. And I'm just like, put a practical shoe on the girl. Give her a flat. Just give her a flat. Give her a ballet pump, right? And she can still look semi-stylish and go around at her heart's content.
Well, she got into something warmer when they were travelling. She got into that jumpsuit thing, at least.
They were nice later on, weren't they? So,
yeah, so they had to, yeah. Listen to the commentary of this, and Nicola Bryant, who plays Peri, said there's like she's got this belt and there's like this keyring thing on there, and it changes like halfway through because someone broke into her dressing room while they were filming and stole her shoes, her underwear, and her keyring that are attached to her belt.
Oh my god!
She just casually mentions that. That's what happened. I don't know who they. That's the 80s.
That's really specific stuff. Like the shoes, I'm like, that could have been someone in costume doing her a favour, right? Underwear as well. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Can we talk about the 45 minutes?
Oh yeah, how did you find it? Did you watch both or what did you do?
Yes. So I kind of like, I only started it today and I've been working. So before I started work, I did the first one and I found that really good. And then going into a second one on 45 minutes. So I'd sort of started the second one. I'd done like 10 minutes. I was like, I have to start work now. It was like 9, so I was like, I need to do some work. Then BritBox lost it, so then I had to start again. And I couldn't remember where I'd started because like it doesn't have the same sort of balance. So I ended up starting it again, which is why we were late recording. And I just, I struggled the second time. I think I'll get used to it, but it's because of the way that I have been used to doing it. And I just need to rebalance it. But I will say in some ways, I think I prefer it. I think like you can have a bit more story. I feel like there's moments where they're still working that out because there was a moment like about 20 minutes in, I think it was the first episode, and it felt like that was a cliffhanger, but obviously there's no cliffhanger.
It's a weird story. I mean, it's not probably the best story. There's a lot of different disconnected things. So you've got the guys in the sewer to begin with, someone's killing them. You've got the Doctor and Peri chasing this signal for a long time.
And like the TARDIS looking different and stuff.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, all of that. I mean, I feel like that there's quite a lot of padding in this because they're following this signal. They get the signal to Earth and they go and he's running around and that's when Peri's clomping all over the place. They go back to the junkyard from the first episode for no reason at all.
No.
He's trying to.
There's some really interesting throwbacks. Sorry, just some tropes. Like they go for all those names of people and stuff. I think it's just a start that like it is Doctor Who and like this is the Doctor. I think it's to give to some sort of continuity.
But I think there's two, and then you have all the Cybermen stuff. This is part of the problem. This is the criticism. It's just all of this fan references. This is the 80s where fans are getting more involved and they're doing it for the fans. Not so if you're watching a brand new series, Doctor Who, you've got all these old references. You've got all this other, all the Cybermen references we'll get to. The story is all around continuity of the Cybermen. And so you've got all the sort of fan-pleasing stuff, but then you've also got the producer, who's been here since the end of Tom Baker, doing a lot of things for the press. So I think this whole bit, all about the TARDIS changing shape and all of that, I feel like it's very padding, but I think he did it because he could put in the press, it's not going to be a police box anymore, so everyone can get riled up. The fans can get riled up and be like, you can't do that, you can't change it. The press can report on it, and supposedly people will tune in. But the problem is, and I think we'll see this as we carry on in the 80s. We've already seen this a bit.
Oh, sorry. Carry on a second and I'll get my chicken out of the oven.
Oh, you got chicken. Okay. The problem is, I think you've got all of this focus on press and focus on fan pleasing.
Yeah.
And the story and the actual script and the actual episodes are the thing that comes last. And you don't get a particularly good story in the end. I mean, because you said, did you follow the story?
The first part, yes. The second part, not as much. The first, so I was trying to work out whether, the people that are outside on the planet, right? And we're sort of seeing
those two guys. Yeah, those two guys.
Were they in the first part or were they at the start of the second part? Because I'm moved into them. I can't remember which one it was.
Well, that's the thing. You got Doctor and Peri with the signal. You got the gangster guys, and then you cut randomly halfway through episode 1 to these other two people on this planet. You follow their story. They're completely separate for most of it until near the end.
Was that in episode 2 or episode 1 though?
It starts in episode 1, just random scenes, but not connected to anyone, and then carry on through episode 2. There's someone to cut back to, basically. And then right at the end, so you follow these people, okay, you think it's going to link up. What happened? They just die at the end. They had nothing to do with it at all. It's just someone to cut back to, because I don't think they've got enough story. This is the problem that I have with these.
I feel they're just getting used to the new format. I think it's more that. I think like they've been so used to writing for 20 minutes, 23 minutes, whatever. And now they've got to write it out for 40, 45. Because it's not like all right, we'll combine it. It's very different. You've got to have a different pace. And I think this is the start of them just finding out how to do that. Like for this show that has been in a very rigid way for 20 odd seasons.
Because it starts off all right, because you got this signal stuff. You got gangsters. Lytton is back. Do you remember Lytton?
Sort of.
He was in the one that Tegan left. He was the policeman with the gun.
I thought he was.
Yeah.
I know, like, I got that he was supposed to be like someone I've seen before, and I was trying to think where it was. And they mentioned that he worked with the Daleks, and I was pretty sure it was that one, but
we're not going back to the flat. We're doing the job today.
That's all of a sudden, isn't it?
You had something else planned.
No, it's just that I was expecting a bit more notice.
We go today. Without fail.
So you got those 4 guys, but that does work, because you cut into them, and then they end up meeting the Doctor and Peri in the sewers and everything. And the guy that's in the front of the car with him, the one that's the policeman that meets the Doctor and Peri in the sewers first, he gets killed in episode 1. He's the guy that plays Davros.
Oh.
But that sort of links up, and I followed the story as much as I ever have. So you've got Lytton, who this signal is actually from Lytton, who's contacting the Cryons or whatever. I don't know why the Cybermen are underground.
Out.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Okay, I'll just carry on while Sarah's got chicken in the oven that she needs to get out. But I'm going to carry on talking. Can you hear me?
One sec.
Oh, she can sort of hear me from the kitchen, so I'm going to carry on.
I'm going to turn the volume up a bit.
Okay. I can explain the plot at this point.
Yeah, you're going to explain the plot. I'll get the chicken out of the oven.
So where am I? Okay, so Lytton. Yeah, so this is what I didn't understand, why the Cybermen were under the sewers. And this is where I think we're getting all these references just for the fans, because we had that second Doctor one, the invasion, where the Cybermen were under the sewers. And then later on, we go to the tombs of Telos. Well, I suppose the Cryons lived there, but that was a second Doctor story, the one where she let him in with the £50 note. You know what I mean? And then they talk about Mondas, and the whole plot is that the Cybermen want to change time so that Mondas and Earth don't have that conflict, which was the first Doctor's last story. But it doesn't really explain, have they time traveled? Can they time travel? Why do they know that they need to time travel? And they want Halley's Comet to crash into the Earth, so the Earth doesn't exist, so then the Cybermen planet can exist. And it's just really convoluted. And on top of that, you've got the random two guys in the pit doing whatever for no reason. It doesn't matter. There's no payoff there at all. It's, as I say, someone to cut back to. So in terms of story, I've never really enjoyed it. I don't think I will. There are some good points to it, but I don't know.
I'll be one sec. I just needed to check my juices were clear.
Okay, that's fine. I'll carry on.
Yeah, I'll be like another 30, 40 seconds.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. We're on a schedule, and Sarah has a chicken, so in the oven. So yeah. So I just have to carry on. Oh yeah, so the gang stuff, I never actually understood. This is the first time that I realised Lytton was working with the Cryon, so he was sort of good in the end. I thought they were genuinely doing a bank job, but that was just a reason to get them into the sewer so he could meet the Cybermen. But then how? Yeah, it's still, why are the Cybermen on Earth when it all actually happens on Telos? That's what I didn't really get, and I don't think anybody really thought that through. But I do like that we do see Earth and we go to another planet. At least the story divides up. By the time you get to part 2, there's something new. You've got the tombs, you meet the Cryons for the first time in part 2 later on. So at least there is enough to cover 2 episodes in that way. You've got a change of scene.
Alexa, timer 20 minutes. Okay. Sorry.
There we go. I was just talking about the plot. We were just all discussing the plot, but
yeah, sure. We just still don't understand. But that's quite
Well, I tried. Well, there's no point to it. I was also saying the Cybermen want Halley's Comet to crash into the Earth, so then their planet can be saved because they don't want that story that was the end of the first Doctor to happen.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I kind of understood the bits of that. I think it was just. I found the first one a lot easier. I think one, because I started the day with it and I had nothing else going on and stuff. But we've talked about this. Sometimes just when you watch it can affect a lot. But also, I think, actually, I thought initially it did a lot of good, setting up. I enjoyed the whole heist thing going on at the start and where does that lead? And how these people, because I didn't notice it was the same guy to begin with at all.
But this heist thing is cool, but it doesn't go anywhere because
that's what I mean. It sets up some really nice ideas at the start. You have the Doctor and Peri. They're doing their exploring. That's a Doctor Who story. They go out and they're exploring. All that, and then you run into some baddies and stuff or goodies or whatever. And I think it is the nature of them thinking in the head. We've only got 2 episodes, and I think the Cybermen are introduced too early.
They are, aren't they? I mean, it's called Attack of the Cybermen.
I think they've got 2 episodes, and actually, you've got the same amount of time as 4.
You have, yeah, but they don't. The Cybermen don't really. They're just. Well, I don't think they're very good in this.
I enjoyed the human guy. I've forgotten his name. The
Lytton.
No, the other guy with him, the bald guy.
Oh yeah, okay. I can't remember his name.
I enjoyed him mimicking the Cybermen's voices.
Yeah. Well, actually, my big takeaway from part 1 is when the Doctor and Peri are doing all the junkyard stuff and running around those streets, and goes on and on. The music in the whole thing is so annoying. It just keeps the music. It really distracts and is very, very overpowering and annoying. That's what I also don't like about this. There's lots of things I don't like. What about the Cryons then? Let's go on to something different. The Cryons.
Those costumes are not great. So I thought, do you remember in the very first Doctor's, not the first story, but in the first season, and the guys at the window with the big heads, the
Sensorites.
I feel like they've taken the Sensorites' heads and covered them in bubble wrap.
They sort of have, because they've got these like magnifying, like plastic magnifying things over their eyes to make him look bigger. It's obviously a mask, but I think they
Oh, the
added
mouth is awful because it's literally just a cutout.
it's a cutout, but they added this moustache thing over the top. I think they added that later on because they saw the cutout and was like, "This is bad, so let's give them all these plastic
That's very
moustaches."
Sensorites, though. The Sensorites had facial hair like that, didn't they?
They did. But then you add their whispery voices
Ugh.
and their movements, and
Don't know why. It just I was like, these are people that have just graduated from drama school and have been told they're going to be a monster in Doctor Who, or they're still in, and this is like their first job, right? And they're just doing as they're told, and the director's given them some very loose instructions because I don't think any don't think any actors would think like, oh, it's so over the top. But I feel like they're just doing as they're told, and the director doesn't really know what he wants from them. So he's just sort of gone, yeah, you're very slow, eloquent. Like, we need them to feel safe. And I feel like it's just, because actually the costume isn't restrictive. Like, I know, like, other than the eyes, it's not a restrictive costume. You're in a onesie with a furry face, and you've got the bubble pop neck and stuff. So, like, I think it doesn't match. Normally, if you're in a big costume, you need to be bigger to make some form of movement. That's not really the case here.
it's funny you say that because the actresses that play it are very good, well-known actresses, and they sort of cast them to be like the names. So
Oh,
one's
really?
like Faith Brown, who's been in loads of stuff, and you got Sarah Green as well, who ended up being the Blue Peter presenter later on. And there was this, again, publicity before anything else. And they did have, and they publicized it, but then she pulled out. One of the main Cryons was going to be Koo Stark, who I didn't know, but she was famous at the time because she was going out with Prince Andrew.
Right.
And there was this whole thing, Koo Stark to be Doctor Who to play a Cryon. I mean, it's probably good that she probably saw the costume and was like, I'm not doing that. So these poor actresses who are well-known actresses, and Faith Brown was cast
That's
to be
so
for
interesting, 'cause
publicity.
I just presume that there were people that just, because you can tell there's some good you can tell there's ability there. It's almost like they've just been given a really poor direction and just been told to do this.
Well, you can't do much with it. I
No,
like,
there's nothing you can do with it. And he said, why cast such big names to not have their faces seen? Like, of the time, do you know what I mean?
yeah, it's so
Their
strange.
faces, you can't see that they're literally in a mask. If you're going to cast names, you want to go, that's who that is. That's interesting, though, that you say about, like, the publicity saying who was in it at the time. And that still happens now.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. But nowadays, you would make sure that they are
You make sure you
seen.
see their face.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think they're a bit of a random addition because those tombs are supposed to be like that second Doctor one. That was vast and it was with Jamie and Victoria and they went in the eyes. It doesn't look like it at all. It's just a poor imitation. It's just like.
But some of that, I think, as well, is a little bit of the colour. I mean, you can get away with more in black and white.
I don't know. But then these Cryons are added because supposedly they used to live there. They've added this thing in because I think they need an extra monster, extra character. It's a bit random.
But ironically, they really don't. That's the thing. There's so much going on in this story. They really didn't need it.
But they're just like Peri opens the door and there's just two of them sitting in the tomb. Do they live there? Have they been there for years? What is this? Where's the explanation of where this
All
society?
she said was they don't have a planet anymore.
Well, they used to be there, and then the Cybermen took over. So why are they just sitting randomly in the tomb until Peri opens the door? I would have liked a bit more them and Peri having a bit of a storyline rather than those two random guys in the sandpit being violent and then just they have nothing. They don't meet the Doctor and Peri. They all they're doing is trying to escape the planet, and they get killed. And then this is also the other problem: the violence.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. When the guy gets litten and he's killed and that blood on the floor, I was like, no, I mean, you don't see him dying, but all that blood, I was like, oh my gosh.
So many people just get randomly shot. His hands and the blood. That Cryon gets sent out and like burns to death.
Yeah.
But the guys in the pit are beating up the Cybermen, and obviously so they get killed. Like, there's so much violence. This is again where it comes in the news and it will be that Doctor Who is too violent. But there's no justification. I feel like they're doing it for the sake of it, and they close up on the blood on the floor and him lying there. But,
Yeah.
there's a lot of these close-ups and even the guy, the Davros guy, when he shoots the Cybermen in the TARDIS at the end of part one, they make sure they do a close-up of the gun going to the Cyberman's mouth, and it shoots, and they're showing obviously he's a Cyberman, so it doesn't affect him. But the gun in the mouth, all of this stuff. Even the Doctor ends up having. Well, he gives Peri a gun to put on the police a couple of times. Peri's again
But
added to her
that's nothing new.
trauma.
That's nothing
Yeah, I
new.
know, but she's not. She's like, why are you giving me a gun? Like, I don't know. But we've always complained that the companions shouldn't be given weapons. The Doctor shoots a load of Cybermen.
It's when they use the weapons.
I know, but
That's what we complain about.
this Doctor is forcing Peri to hold a gun and to
Oh.
say,
No, I don't feel that, because the companions have had weapons. The Doctor does not have a weapon. The Doctor's never had a weapon.
but he does now. He shot a load of Cybermen at the end.
Well, that's what I mean. That's always been the thing. But the Doctor doesn't. The companions have, and it's usually for self-defense.
Yeah, I suppose it is, and she doesn't want to. But I don't know. The Doctor's putting her in that position. I just think there's way too many guns in this. Way too. And I know I'm sounding like today, but I don't know. You just wouldn't do a lot of that today. You just wouldn't do all of that.
I think you
I
would.
don't- no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have all that blood on him crushing his hands on the blood on the
I
floor.
think it's trying to appeal, like you say, if it's trying to appeal to its fans rather than it's so again, it kind of comes back to what we talked about with the new series. I feel like the new series is trying to attract new audience and a younger audience that will grow up on it, right? In the same way that like new fans that came in when they were young and watched Chris Eccleston, David Tennant, and they've grown up on it and become fans. I think it's trying to do the same now. I think it's almost like a restart. So, things like having the musical episode. I know, we're talking about, but this feels different. This feels like it's trying to appeal to its current demographic, which is older. But equally, I don't feel that surprised by all the guns and stuff like that.
I don't know, but it's still showing on a Saturday at 5 o'clock, for the family to watch. I don't know.
I think the blood is different. And I think like the way of people being killed is different. I don't think the actual look, I mean, they're always at war with people. This is like we've just had the last season where everyone died in an episode.
But yeah, it's carrying that sort of that darker, violent-y nature. It's carrying on into this season. But
we
it's
had
just
like the last Doctors. Very few people survived in any of his stories. And people didn't just fall off cliffs. They were killed. So this is nothing new. To me, I'm not that. I know what you're saying. I think it's not the killing. It's not the fact that people are being killed. It's how they're being killed and what we're seeing. I think that's what's different. I think like seeing the blood, or like you said, putting a gun in a mouth. That's a very different thing. But I wasn't faced by Peri having a gun.
no, I know. It's just I don't know. It's
Because
just
all the companions have had them at one point or another. I can't think of any companion. I'm talking like when there's just one companion, not like if it's two. Usually, it's more the male than the female and stuff like that. I can't think of any when it's one that haven't had to use weapons because the Doctor doesn't. That's always been his thing, and when he does, that's why it feels so strange and out of character. But then also, I don't feel like. Actually, I didn't feel it was strange and out of character for this Doctor.
no, I just feel like it's just this 80s tastelessness that's coming through a little bit, which is it's just a completely
I think that's
different.
fair to say, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just this different style that takes a bit of time because we've watched in order. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. So I can
It
only
does.
imagine people tuning in to a new series and being like, okay, but yeah, it's not terrible. And the Doctor and Peri, like the actors are brilliant. And Colin Baker is doing everything I'm sure is the script and the director and everyone is asking him to do, whether that's right or not, he is delivering.
Yeah, for sure. I think actually they both are. Like, I didn't hate Peri as much in this story as I did the last story.
Her trauma level is a bit lower in this, actually. And she hasn't got tons to do, but she's
There's
involved
bits
enough.
where she's by herself and like she's having to do things. Like she didn't annoy me as much at all. Did I follow the story? I don't know. But also, actually, I say that the first half I definitely did. Episode 1, I definitely followed. I was following it. I was like, okay, yeah. And like, I don't know who these people are, but I get what, like, it's different and we're jumping. And then it was the second part. And I don't know why they threw in another monster. I mean, do we need 2 in 2 episodes? I know they're longer, but
I suppose, yeah, I
Really-
don't know. It's I'd say the structure's a bit all over the place, but I mean, it's different. They're quite. I don't know. They don't look great, but they were quite nice. That one of the doctor was talking to, she was quite
but
nice.
did we need them? Like, that's what I'm asking. Like, because you've got Doctor and Peri, Lytton and Bald Guy, Cybermen. So and then 4th is like the 2 guys on the planet. That's already like 4 in 2 episodes, and I know they're longer, but that's already quite a lot.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's see how it goes in terms of the other stories. But no, it's just not a great beginning of a series for me. It's not one that
It was nice to start it with something that we know, which is the Cybermen, and we know how they work, and we know how they we know them, right? So in what is a lot of unknown, we don't really know this new Doctor. We don't really know Peri that well, but the Cybermen I understand as characters. So that is like one less thing on my plate to try and get my head around and learn and understand. So I kind of appreciated that.
What did you think of the Cybermen this time?
I didn't really think anything. I thought they were fine.
There's the Cyber leader.
Yeah, we're the cyber leader. They're not, it's weird. They're not like this big dynamic thing. And I think that's just some of that's down to the way it was paced. I think they came too soon. I think it would have been more dramatic if they'd have come at the end of the first episode. And then it was just about them and their journey there. And I don't know how they would have done that.
I don't think the cliffhanger was very strong. Just the sort of Peri doing her Kim Kardashian face again. It's just a few like I say, fan-pleasing marketing things rather than script. But there we are. Well, okay, it's an all right start.
What's next?
Okay, well, next, it's a 2-parter.
Yay!
And it's called Vengeance on Varos.
Vengeance on Varos. I think they'll go to a planet called Varos.
There we go. That's a safe enough guess.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, let us know what you think of Attack of the Cybermen. If is it your first time watching as well?
Is it your fave?
Is it your favorite? Oh, I don't know. It's funny. Maybe if I'd had this on video like when I was a kid, I would love it and think it's amazing. But actually, I didn't get this on video at all. But like the DVD, as I say, I've only watched it a couple of times, so maybe that's why I didn't watch it as a child. But so maybe I'll be like, oh wow, it's really cool. If I was a kid, I'd be like, let's play Lytton in the playground getting killed. I don't know. Maybe like you say, sometimes it's how you watch it or when you watch it.
It is,
maybe.
And that affects a lot. I think, like I said, I think that's why I enjoyed the first one so much, and it's something for me to get used to because I think I need to adapt my watching style and how I watch them. Yeah,
well, you can get in touch with us on Twitter or Instagram at 2WatchWho, and we will see you next time for Vengeance on Varos. Bye.
Bye.
2 Watch Who.